Got like some glitter or something on my phone. I don't know what that is. Definitely from one of my daughters. Anyway, hello everyone. Oh, I was just getting into the code here. Like I said before, I actually I don't really work on this at all off stream. I'm trying to build all of it, on the stream. So this series that I'm doing has all the work. The only thing I've really done is set up the repo, register the domain, stuff like that. Nothing's live yet, nothing's active. And kind of to the point last time, we're on the third part now. I'm assuming this will probably go about 5 parts. We're pretty close. Again, I'm really just doing this for content, but so far I've spent, 3 hours on this, or after today, I'll spend 3 hours. So it's really not a lot of time. So kind of to the point last time, we did a lot of code last time. The first time we did a lot of design work. So I'm kind of doing soft stream, code stream, soft stream, code stream. I'm kind of mixing and matching them. So the point is that today is going to be a little bit softer in the fact that we're going to do some more front end stuff here with the Tailwind UI forms. We're going to do some administrative stuff. I actually want to set up CI after we kind of actually started writing some tests in the last stream. So let's get all that going. Sorry if I'm a little sniffly. I'm still getting over a head cold. So first things first, let's go out to laravelshift.com and let me move my streaming bar. And let's run a shift here. I want to run the CI generator. The CI generator actually doesn't get a lot of love. And I feel like it's actually pretty nice. It might need some updating in fairness, which is also kind of why I want to run it. Let me just borrow this. And let's just paste that in here and we'll say main. All right. And something is wrong with that. I broke something. Oh. I didn't copy the full URL. That's my fault. All right, check out and run. Let's add this. Okay, cool. So it's part of my plan now. I should be able to run this shift. Let's get that going. So we should get a pull request here in a second. But basically, the CI generator will effectively figure out for GitHub, Bitbucket, or GitLab, setting up CI for you. So it generates all the YAML configuration files that you need for these things. It'll look at the project. It'll see I'm running Pint and PHP unit and all that stuff. So it does lint and it checks your code style. And, if you do things like PHP stan, it'll set that up to run as well. All of these in separate parallel jobs. So it's all nice and kind of configured. So even though you can copy and paste all this stuff from web posts, or you might copy it from another project and reconfigure a couple paths or whatever, again, it's all automated. So I like to run this. It's there. I don't think a lot of people know about it is kind of the point, but kind of the additional stuff, beyond the upgrade shifts, there's actually a lot. If we go back to run shift, there's actually a lot of stuff that's kind of in this PHP category. There's PHP unit upgrade shifts. There's the pest converter, which pest kind of has their own now. I've used it a few times. I actually feel like shifts does a little bit better of a job. But, theirs works for sure. So anyway, the CI generator's in here, but, kind of going back just to shift for a second, there's a lot of additional shifts beyond just the upgrade stuff. There's at least 10 other shifts that do, automation for this, everyday automation. So anyway, my tiny little sales pitch. So there we go. Look, see, as we expect, everything passed, right? Because we were running all the tests last time. I think there's just some small tweaks I want to make to this real quick. I see that it's running 8.2. I want to bump that up to 8.4. And again, that's where I said the CI generator might be a little behind the times. It should probably default to 8.3 at least. But let's just look at the files that it made real fast. So again, it sets up its own lint workflow, which actually runs PHP lint and Pint. So it makes sure you don't have any syntax errors using that PHP lint. And then because it saw in our composer dependencies we were using Pint, it automatically runs the test on that. And then finally, it sets up a MySQL database as the assumption. Again, we could change that to SQLite or whatever based on our stuff. It kind of just assumes, an old school LAMP stack, but it's very easy to configure these things. But anyway, it does all that, sets up an actual, what it believes to be a production, mirrored environment, and it runs all your tests. So I think the only thing I want to bump real quick is let's just go in and bump this to 8.4, right? Let's go bump it to 8.4. It won't take long. Everything's running. We get a nice green checkbox. We can see, again, what was that? Like under a minute, shift ran, set all this stuff up. So yeah, maybe you can copy it from another project or hobble it together from a bunch of blog posts, but I don't think you're going to beat 2 minutes and everything's green, right? Like that's pretty nice. So let's copy this branch down, git fetch, git check out that. Whoops, not that. That. Oh, if I have the right spacing, there it is. All right, cool. What do you mean it didn't match? What did I break here? Oh, my paste buffer got weird. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and bring up PHP Storm so we can actually, not that. PHP Storm, where am I searching? There we go. Let's close all this other stuff down. We don't need it. Well, let's leave up the Tailwind stuff. We're gonna do that next. Let's open the project, actually. That would help. All right. So last time we worked on the estimate controller, I think what we want to focus on now is this lint.yaml. You're not there. You're indexing, of course. Going to take forever. So let's just go refresh this project thing ourselves and jump in here. So let's bump this to 8.4. Thank you very much. And let's bump this to 8.4. Thank you. And let's do a git add, git commit -m, bump to PHP 8.4. Git push, make sure everything's green. We'll squash merge it. We'll get back to those forms. Oh, git open, git open. There you go. All right, so hopefully this runs pretty quickly. So we've got everything. Again, a lot of information in here if you want to change stuff. But I think it's pretty good. All right. Let's see if it finishes. Lint's good. Test should be good. But let's see the green. I like to see the green. That's like one of the fun parts of CI. We're so quick to ignore it when it fails, but we'll sit here and wait to watch those green checkboxes. Yeah, if that were red, we'd just be like, oh, whatever, merge. It's not what you should do, but it's what we do. There we go. All right, let's squash merge this down because it's all just making CI anyway, CI generator, squash it. All right, let's delete that branch and let's go back here, git checkout main, git pull. I'm missing spaces today. Okay, composer run dev. I don't think we even copied down. I don't even think we copied down our chat GPT. Yeah, I don't think anything's even installed here. I don't think we even copied down stuff. Looks like the project's not even set up all the way. Okay, let's fix this. MFS. All right, let's try this again. What's going on here? No such table jobs. Oh, composer run dev automatically attempts to run the queue. And I don't have any job. I haven't built out the job server. Or the sessions server, apparently. Do I care about all that? Did I do something wrong when I set up this project? This is like really, this feels very un-Laravel like smooth to me. What is going on here? I've been working again. I've only worked on this machine. I've run Laravel new. I feel like composer run dev should just work. I understand why it's not. I don't have the jobs. I feel like that composer run dev command should be smart enough that if I don't have a jobs table, it should just work it. And if the default if the default is sessions now, why don't I have the migration for sessions? Oh, did I delete these myself? In fairness, I might have deleted these myself. Okay. I griped too early. That was my fault. What can we do here? Let's get in the env, I think. Oh, crap. I don't want to freaking leak anything. Hold on a second. Full screen me. Sorry, everybody. I want to make sure. I don't think there's anything in here, but I don't want to leak anything. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change the queue. I don't have anything on the queue. So I'm going to change queue connection to null, and I'm going to change the session driver to file. And I'm going to run composer run dev again and see if it's smarter about it all. It'll probably still gripe about the jobs table. Processing jobs from default queue. Okay, yeah, so the queue's null. Okay, so that fixed it. Okay, so let's go back to sharing screens here. Oh, where are you? There we are. Okay, all right. Okay, so gripe too early. Classic dev mistake. You immediately jump to like worst case scenario. The problem was I deleted these migrations, I think, earlier in a video because I was having a very, very minimal app. I wasn't going to need a queue or anything like that. I was just going to use SQLite, and like everything's just file, like the cache and all that stuff's just file. I think in production I might have everything be SQLite, so I probably need to revive that sessions table. But once I reconfigured the app to use the null driver and the file driver for sessions, this now runs. Now, again, it just brings up the Laravel page. So, I don't remember if we... So this is just home, and home's just Laravel's thing. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to change the home template to just be a basic estimate form that we're gonna hobble together from Tailwind UI. So what I want to try to achieve today is a form that actually submits to store. It generates a quote. Again, our formula's just fake right now, but it's going to generate that, store it in the database, redirect us to show, where it's going to say, here's your cost estimate, and then it's going to ask them for their then it's going to ask them for their name and some way to contact them, right? So while we're going to continue to work on the design in future streams, I really just want to make sure that the functionality of this estimator is here, right? The estimator is everything. So let's build kind of that first, right? That's the whole kind of application part of this website. So let me get into the home template. And we're just going to kind of leave all this here, I think. What do we actually want to keep? We probably don't want to keep much. I think I'm just going to get rid of like everything here, to be honest. Not the body tag, of course. Okay, let's just go from body to body, right? I think let's do that. And I'll leave this all, again, I'll leave all that alone for now. I'll actually make a layout when we have the full design. So if I refresh this, we should just have, a blank page. Okay, let's go find a form from Tailwind UI that's, somewhat acceptable. Now we need to think of our fields, right? Our fields are basically like, what's your square footage? Let's bring up the migration. I think that's going to be the easiest. Let's bring up the migration for the estimates. Okay, so the top things here we're going to wait on. Again, we talked about this last time, but from like a product perspective, the whole goal here is to like generate leads, like generate quality leads, I'll say, from this estimator form. That's the whole point of the website, is to drive new business from the web, from the internet, to this local, ladies cleaning service. So I don't want the form to have any friction. I want it to be as frictionless as possible. There's going to be some friction because you have to fill out some of this information. But I'm not going to ask them for information that doesn't really matter in giving them a quote until the end. So that means I don't really give a crap about what their name or how to contact them is if they don't even like the quote. So let's just give them the quote, right? The quote are these fields: square footage, number of bedrooms and bathrooms, if they have pets, yes or no, and it seems like if they have children, they need to like tell us how many. So what I'm thinking is like, I'm thinking maybe like, we'll pick a design, but I'm thinking square footage is probably even a range. Like how many people know the exact square footage of their home? I don't know about that, but I think people probably know like, okay, I'm under 1,000 square feet, or I'm between 1,000 or 2,000, or like I have a 3,000 square foot home. I think most people think of it in like probably increments of hundreds. Like nobody, I don't know, that my home is like 1,217 square feet, right? Like the point is I think a drop down box is good here. So let's do a drop down here. We'll say drop down for this. This will just be small input, right? You could do a slider here, but again, I don't know. I don't want the slider to go from 0 to 100. Like, does somebody have 100 bedrooms? Probably not. But, I think a small input for these is fine. This will be like maybe just a checkbox, like check, I have pets. And then this is probably like, a small input. So, yeah. I'm trying to think of like, based on these, like you have really small stuff. So I think you could probably do like bedrooms and bathrooms on like the same line or same row, so to speak. And then the children could maybe be similarly underneath it. And then like the bottom's like a checkbox if you have pets or not. So just kind of visualizing the form. Let's go back. Let's kill that. We don't need it for now. Just trying to see if there's a form in one of their designs here that kind of is close. This gives us the sizes here are not what we need, but like, it has a drop-down box. It has smaller inputs here, 2 and 2. It doesn't really have a checkbox. But I guess we could like make this work. I'm not super excited about that part, but let's see if there are any other designs in here that make any sense. I don't really need like a 2-column, so that's out. I like that this is boxed in. I think our ultimate design would probably be a little bit of a card. So like copying this and then just killing the left side might get us the closest. Definitely don't like that design. So let's go back to the top one. The top one is just kind of free floating. So it's like, do I just take the top one? Or do I take the card one and like strip the other side? I could probably just build the card later, to be honest. What is this? Profile. Okay, so that's off to the side. So the way it does this is, oh, each form's individual. I see. Each form's individual. So the form itself just has the ring around it. I think that's going to be pretty easy to recreate later. So I think in that case, let's just take this one is the point. So let's copy this. Let's go back to our home. We'll definitely break this up. I'll definitely, like, again, break this up into components and, layouts and all that proper stuff later. But for now, let's just copy this form in and let's strip it down to the fields that we need. So first things first, okay, so everything is in one form. So this is going to, the method here is going to be post, and the action is going to be route estimate dot store. Now we're gonna need a CSRF token. How long do CSRF tokens last? Sometimes, I've noticed this on Shift. Sometimes what will happen is someone gets on a form and then they wait. Let's say they're on the checkout form for Shift. They got to go get the company card. They get the company card, it takes a minute, they end up going to lunch, they come back, they're on the checkout screen, they plug in their credit card and they hit submit. But now like 2 hours have passed, and so they get a CSRF, token expired exception. Now, I think that sucks because they were just about to pay me and now it kind of broke. Now, again, am I losing a sale? No, not necessarily, but I've always wondered how long the CSRF tokens are good for. So I don't want to not have it because I think obviously it has value from like a very, very lightweight defense of like, spoofing and whatnot. But like, it's almost like if you filled out the data, like you'd be undermining it if you had some logic that was like, oh, if you filled out the data, just ignore it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of talking out loud there. Okay, so everything, I'm just trying to see what's in what. I definitely don't want a cancel button. I hate cancel buttons. I don't even know why they exist. Okay, let's get rid of this top section. I think the personal information section is closer to what we want. We don't care about first and last name. We're gonna start immediately with the combo box. So country is that first combo box, right? So let's go back and look at the design. Let's go back to preview. So we're starting with this section. I killed this part. We're starting immediately with country. And what this country really is, and again, I'll fill a lot of this in later, but this is like square footage. All right, and then we'll just say something. I won't fill out all this, but we'll just say something from like 0 to 1,000 square feet, and then we'll say something like I guess 1,000. This is kind of ugly already. 1,001 to 2,000 square feet. So I think I'll probably do this where it's like it might be a little more human spoken. I'll talk to the lady about it, but the point is this gets us kind of an idea here. All right, looks like they got a little drop down there. All right, so I'll leave all that alone. Let's change the names though, so we can actually submit this. So this is square foot. So let's change anywhere it says country to square feet. There won't be an autocomplete name here because I don't think anybody has an autocomplete for square footage. Cool. You know what else actually I'm gonna need? I would need to know if it's residential or commercial. I actually don't have that in the database. We should probably add that. So I think we're gonna need, I'm just gonna throw a little to-do in here for myself. Oh, what is it? It's like that? I always forget. No, it's this. Is that right? Or no, it's dash dash. What is the comment in Blade? There it is. Oh, I was thinking of unescaped. That was the unescaped output. I don't write Blade that often anymore. Okay, so basically to do add a radio option for residential or commercial property. All right, so we need to know the property type, and the default's going to be residential, of course. I think that's most of the business, but she did mention that she does clean some commercial properties. Okay, I don't think we care about the street address right now because it's going to be local. Again, it's going to be local. So let's drop street address. So call span full. Okay, so we're going to have to tweak that, I think. All right. And then we want bedroom, bathrooms here, but that's actually really like first and last name. So I probably shouldn't have deleted first and last name. Let's go find it again. So down here, we'll take this. Yeah, we'll take this and we'll change them to not this stuff. We'll put this back here. There we go. Okay, so instead of first name, last name, let's change all this. We'll change this to bedrooms, no autocomplete. Get out of here. We'll say bedrooms. We'll probably need to like say number of bedrooms, but that's fine. And then down here, instead of last name, we'll make this bathrooms and no autocomplete. Probably should say autocomplete off, I would think, but we could change that for a couple of these. Kind of have to feel it out first, right? Okay, let's bring up Composer Run Dev again and kind of see what we've broken. Let's backfill a couple of these other things, but let's kind of see what we've broken so far. Okay, estimate store. Oh, is it estimates? Estimates. My bad. Estimates store. There we go. All right, what's the issue here? The issue is it has, I think the issue here is Tailwind UI. I actually don't have Tailwind UI installed. If file exists, build manifest, or files exists hot. What's an app CSS? Yeah, we have Tailwind. Oh, okay. All right. npm install. Do you need, I always forget, do you need something for Tailwind UI? Where's like their install? Nope. Installation, documentation. What the hell? Tailwind, how do I use you? Am I crazy? I know I've been like sick the last few days, but like, am I crazy? Where's the documentation? Templates, UI kit, where are you? Oh my goodness. Tailwind UI documentation. Getting set up, here we go. Okay, so Tailwind CSS, thank goodness. How did that not search? It's crazy. Okay, add the enter, all right, we've done that. Okay, let's just see if this looks better. We can get enter later, but let's see if this actually runs now. There we go. That feels better. Helps when you actually have your packages installed. But geez, I can't believe there wasn't a link to the like install guide. Okay, so what's this? Where'd this come from? Oh, I think we were expecting square footage to be full. Yeah, this wasn't like a width full. I think it's still like a 3, so it's bumping it up because we're changing the layout. Yeah, see, all these are call span 3s, so they're just stacking up wherever they can fit. So really, I think this was like, I think that was called full, or not fill, full, yeah. Let's do that, and I think, yeah, there we go. Now, we don't want it to be full, but that's gonna push this down. Okay, that shouldn't say last name, that should say bathrooms. So let's fix that. And then let's get another one that's, what do we call this, children? I don't know why my Mac is about to take off, but it is not happy with me. Okay, we have children, and then we need a checkbox for pets. Sorry. Okay, where's my checkboxes? I don't need a super fancy checkbox. I just need a, kind of just want this part. but not without even the comments part. So let's strip this down a bit. Let's take this. Let's take this. This has the label. Where's the actual checkbox? Oh, okay, it's part of this. Okay, so it's really this whole section is the checkbox, which probably is going to need to be inside of one of these. So let's just see what this looks like real quick. See if we can hack this together. So this is sm call span 3, and then we'll paste in our bit, and this is already flexed. Do we need this? That's the wrapping container for this piece to make sure that those space out correctly. I think we'll probably want that. Yeah, again, this positioning wise, this isn't where I want it, but it's interesting that and then I think we'll, so it's not comments. What this will really be is pets. There we go. What I don't like is I feel like from like a UX perspective, like I should, right now this is the only label, so this toggles it. I feel like I should be able to click this part too. I appreciate that that's a description, but part of me would like that whole section to be labeled out. Anyway, we can come back to that. I think we have all the fields we need, except for, okay, we need commercial versus residential. So I think we're gonna need some of these radio buttons, and then we'll make those be the commercial residential. So let's get rid of a lot of this notification section, and we'll go down to this push notification section. And we'll keep this field set, I think. Yeah, let's keep this. Let's turn this part into the, yeah, and let's get rid of all of the notification section now. So let's kill this, and let's bring this up here, and we'll get rid of this part, and we'll, instead of this, we'll just say like, property type or something here for now. That's all a to do, and then we don't need 3, we just need 2. And this will be, instead of push everything, this will just be residential. And the name is going to be property type. All right. What else do we have? So this is all, okay, I don't think we have anything over there that matters. Let's do property type here. Let's make sure all of our checkboxes still work. Okay, they do. Okay, my spacing is all messed up here, so let's, I forget, are you allowed to style a field set? I think you can. Yeah, okay. Again, not the exact way it's going to look. I think that's going to depend on when we finish generating the design, but I think everything's here except for the fact that we should change the names of those so they're a little more clear while we're playing around. So let's say residential, and then let's say commercial. Okay, a couple things. First, we have all of our fields, and I believe they're named correctly. Obviously, that's not, so let's fix that. This should be, we named it children, but we did not change it to be children. And again, all these are going to need clear descriptions and so forth with them, but that's kind of part of the final bit. What I care about now is that all the fields are on page. I can actually put information in here, hit save, and I'm going to see it in the database. That's what I care about right now. So we're not going to be able to do that, though. Well, we will be able to do that, but it won't save this part. So let's backfill this into the model real quick, see if we can hit save, and then that's probably where I'll stop today. So let's go back here and let's add a Boolean for property. It's not a Boolean. It's not a Boolean. Do I need to go so far as to make an enum? Like, do I really care that much? I'm trying to figure out if I care enough to make it an enum. The easy thing here would be to make it a Boolean and have residential or commercial, right? Because that's the part that matters. I really just care if it's a commercial property. The assumption is that it's residential. So it's kind of just a Boolean to say that if it's commercial or not. So it's kind of like you could go back and make the radio buttons commercial, and it's kind of like yes, no, even though from a display perspective, we're displaying that it's residential or commercial. So it's kind of like what I really care about tracking is if it's a commercial property. That's all I need to know. The assumption, again, the majority of the business is residential, so the assumption is it's residential. And then the default, could be false. That's not a drop down. I think let's change it to be that. It's just, again, it's a small site. I don't feel the need to jump to an enum and really track that. We're really just caring if it's a commercial property. So for those reasons, I will go back and change the actual storage of this to be commercial. And when we go in and fill out these values, we can have it be 0 or whatever. So the name of what they're checking is commercial, and basically this thing's value, wherever it is, need to break all those down, but basically types radio, and I think here the value will be 1, and here the value will be 0 for residential, of course. And then we'll need to do like an @checked here. And again, we haven't done that yet either. So let's come back to that. Actually, yeah, let's come back to that. Okay, so we've added it to the database. We need to put it in the model now. So let's backfill this into the model. So let's go to estimate. And I don't know if it matters in the estimator range or if it's all just based on square footage. So again, that's going to have to get updated now. There's a lot here. Let's go back. We'll change this to be commercial, and it is required, and it's got to be that. So now our tests are going to fail. So we're doing this kind of in a backfill way, but let's go up to the estimate. Let's add commercial here, comma. Let's add it down here to be a Boolean. And then I actually like to sort these alphabetically. When you're getting in here, it makes life easier, I think, to see, oh, is that mass assignable or not? And I hate these doc blocks. Okay. So let's get our test passing again real quick. Let's kill this. Vendor bin, PHP unit. Okay, yeah, commercial fields required. That makes sense. So let's go to store, saves, and redirects. And yeah, that's all going to fail because our estimator doesn't work right now. So let's find store, saves, and redirects. There it is. We will need to add on commercial here. We kind of don't care if it's Boolean, true, or false. It's just part of it. So let's make this commercial. And we should be back to passing. Yes, cool. Now, is it needed in the estimate or not? I don't know. We'll figure that part out later. I guess we should also too say where commercial equals commercial. All right, cool. Vendor bin pint. Let's just make sure I didn't mess anything up. Okay, cool. So we should still be in a passing state. And we've added now this commercial bit. So theoretically, let's go look at our estimate controller again. I think to kind of finalize the stream, what I want to do is get down into show. And I think all we're going to do now is let's just DD out the estimate. Estimate to array, so it's not so crazy. Estimate's coming in. Okay, so right now we should be able to go back. We're going to need to migrate fresh seed with the new stuff. Rerun Composer. Let's just do it. We'll rerun that. We'll go back to Composer run dev. Refresh, it automatically refreshes the page. So let's go back to here and we'll say residential. Now notice nothing's checked right away. So that's kind of the next part. We may finish that part today. Let's bump up the square footage. I think this is going to end up being weird because we're storing this as an integer and I'm passing across a range. So that's going to be weird. Let's say it's 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, and I have 2 children, no pets. Save. Now, problem number 1. Problem number 1 is square footage is now a range, a string. Now that is either going to need to be stored in the database as an enum or its actual range. I think an enum in this case probably makes sense, so I'm going to need to change that. The real problem is that two problems. We're not putting the error messages on the screen. So I know this is broken because I'm the developer, but we definitely need at least a quick, error handling, error message example on the screen. And then 2, it also didn't save my data when it came, or sorry, not save, but it didn't display my old form input when it represented this form. So let's fix those 2 things. So first things first, let's get back into home. That's why I wasn't able to find it. Let's get back into home, and we just need like a very quick error message output. I don't know if I have Copilot turned on right now. Do I? Yeah, I do. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see if Copilot can help us out with this. What did we determine those were? Yeah, there it is. Display error messages from Laravel. Give me something. At error? No completion? Come on. Where are you, Copilot? I don't know. My Mac is humming, which I'm sure some people can hear. So, okay, I'll come back to that here in a second. Let's get the old form data in here first. Okay, let's do that. So let's do @checked old commercial, and then the default would be true here. Oh, well, you know what? That's not actually true. It would have... This is actually a 0. The value here is actually 0. So, you can't say it that way. You'd have to say... You'd kind of have to hack this. You'd have to say, old commercial. If there isn't an old commercial, then you'd kind of default this to be 0. And if old commercial is equal to 0, in a non-strict way, because again, that's going to be a string actually that comes out of there, not an integer, then it's checked. So this would be the way to default it. But yeah, if old commercial, was that, and then down here you wouldn't have to do as crazy of a dance. Down here you would just say you know, old commercial, the default would be null, and therefore it's not checked. But if it is there, it'd be 1, and so it'd be checked. So this one's a little cleaner. This one's a little funky because we want it to be the default, and we're kind of trying to do that all in one. So that's a little overly complex. There might be I forget if checked has a second argument. It'd be nice if checked had like a second argument. So instead I could say like old commercial equals 0, comma, true, and then that would be like, that means it's like the default, but I get why it's all collapsed. Anyway, yeah, the other nice thing too is if we made this an enum, then I could more easily do like a loop here over the various options. I think for now to get this to work, here let's just say 1,000, right? We'll just kind of level these up. And again, maybe I'll just keep it this way. I'll get her input on like what ranges actually matter, and then we could just have them plug into the formula the correct way. So we may not need to change anything here. We just need to kind of like bump the values. And then I always forget, is this an at checked too, or is this an at selected? Yeah, they have an at selected. There you go. Okay, so this is kind of the same thing. So the same thing here would be like old square foot is equal to 1,000, right? That's kind of what we're after here. And then same thing here, 2,000. And then these are obviously much more easy to mess with. So here we'll say value equals old. I always forget it. Is there a new? Is there an at value? No, there's not. Kind of wonder if there should be. That would be nice. Anyway, what did we call this? Bedrooms. Let's borrow this. Let's borrow that and do the same for bathrooms and children. And let's get the right names. Building forms is fun. All right, pets. Input, name, pets, type, checkbox. Yeah, okay, so value equals 1. At, oh my goodness, at checked is, again, simpler here, not checked by default, pets. Okay. I don't even know if you have to pass old there. I wonder if you could pass it a string. That'd also be like an interesting shorthand. And then what's this? Oh, that's the actual information. Okay, so if I refresh this, if we refresh this and try to resubmit, let's see if it actually kind of remembers our stuff. All right, so let's go to 2,000. Let's go back to 3 and 1 and 2 children and not no pets. So save. Okay, cool. So it's remembering our stuff now. I think the issue, I don't know what the issue now is actually. So what validation error are we running into? We actually hacked this to be a value. Why would that? I'm sure I just named a field wrong, and so it's thinking something's required that's not. How do you get, I always forget in Laravel. Again, I don't make forms very often anymore. Laravel error, or validation, I guess, is what we're after. Laravel 12. Oh, I love that the docs keep the page you're on now. It used to not do that. It used to, when you said, oh, get me to the latest version, it would just like dump you to the, prologue. Now it actually remembers which section you were on. Love it. Okay, where are error messages here? Working with error messages. There we go. For each, where is it in Blade? I thought they had like a nice Blade example. Maybe not. Specifying the message, language file. I know they have like an at error. Yeah, here it is. You may use the Blade directive at, okay, so you can't get all errors, I don't think. Yeah, this is where you would request old, Blade template old. Yeah. Okay, let's go back to displaying errors. Let's just dump them on the page for now. So here we go. All right, errors equals validator errors. Where do you get this? The errors variable is automatically made. Okay, errors variable is automatically made. All right, so let's at dump errors. Let's just see what we're breaking. Bag's got nothing in it. Oh, because we refreshed. Thanks a lot. Okay, commercial. 3, 1, 2. Not checked. That. Save. All right, what do you got? Default. Pets. Pets field is required. Oh, because it's a checkbox. It's a checkbox. It's not sent across. I think we were attempting to say yes, no. I think when we made the form, we kind of thought, oh, it's yes, no, but that's actually not true. So let's quickly hack that. It comes across. I think we can simply just drop the required, and if it is there, it will be cast as a Boolean. But because it's a checkbox that may or may not be there, because it's a checkbox that may or may not be there in our controller, we're going to need to handle null. We're going to need to handle null and or not put it in the, well, it wouldn't be in the form request, so it's not coming across in the validated data. Did we default that? We don't default it. So we would need to default this. To make everything work, we would need to default this to false. The default database value, so if it doesn't get put in the database, because it didn't come across in the form data, yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so this is refreshed, fine. We'll do a commercial property. 3, 1, 2, save. There's our issue because we didn't run migrate fresh seed, but we can see here that null, it's missing its value. Okay, so we're gonna need to kill this MFS, bring this back up, go back, and basically attempt to resubmit this, although now we're probably gonna get a CSRF token error, but let's hit save anyway. Okay, cool, generate range, argument 2, pets must be type of bool, null given. Wait a second. We should have pulled this out of the database. Oh, is that not, are we not casting that? Oh, wait a second. Is it not casting that? Because it's null? It should have been defaulted to false, right? I thought we defaulted it to false. PHP Artisan Tinker. Let's see what's going on in here. Estimate all. Pets, 0. Pets, 0. Pets, 0. Why are you null? Are you not cast? Are you not? I thought I saw that in the cast. This is some unexpected behavior. Pets, Boolean. 0 should be false, right? Am I crazy? Where is this actually griping? Estimator, bool, pets, null given on line 18. That should have been cast. It's stored in the database as 0. Why isn't that cast? It's not refreshed. It's not refreshed and it's not default. It's null. That's funky. Can you default a property? Can you default a property for a model? I think you can. Okay, so what's happening? Yeah, this is a little bit funky. What's happening here is it's storing itself to the database. But when you create a model, it runs the insert. It doesn't refresh from the database. Okay, this is one of the reasons I've never really believed in like database level constraints, because this is exactly the problem. They're not always in sync. So if you have quote unquote logic at your database level, that doesn't always resync back to your application. It's best to just have everything in the application. And this is kind of a case of that. It just gets a little gray, right? It's like who's in charge? Sometimes you can think it's the database, especially if you start to add this kind of logic to it. But this here proves that it's not always the case. So again, Laravel's storing it into the database, and it's getting stored correctly, and that's getting defaulted to 0. But from Laravel's perspective, it did not set pets. And after it saved it to the database, it did not refresh itself from the database data. It just had its current, active record, right? So estimate pets is actually null right here, even though it is getting stored and defaulted to the database as 0 or false. At runtime, the in-memory copy of estimate pets is null. Now, if you did something silly here, like estimate refresh, now it wouldn't be null anymore. But what probably needs, what you could do here is, you could do this, right? But that's a little gross. I feel like pets should just get defaulted. So let's spend the last minute here trying to figure that out. So Laravel default model property, right? Model attribute value, I think is the right way to say that. So model attribute. I know there's a way to do this. I'm just trying to find it because I actually never have. How to set a default. Okay, cool. Public quantity. Oh, nope, don't like that. 4.x, give me a break. How old is this question? Oh, wow. Maybe Laravel will tell us. How about that? Eloquent. Let's just start at the top. Where's eloquent? Getting started. Default? Is default anywhere on the page? By default, by default, by default, default attribute values. Here you go. Default attribute values. Wonderful. I knew there was a way to do it. Okay, so see here again, going back to kind of that database. The database has logic. The other stuff has logic. Like this gets back to that place where it's like, okay, your stuff really needs to be in the app or repeated at least, right? So let's think here. I think the only one right now that we can see is a problem is pets. Now, again, this is a lot of hoop jumping for like a weird form edge case. I think the other thing that could happen is the estimate store request could default pets. That's probably what I think. That's probably how I would solve this very specific thing for this very specific app. Is that this would just, the only way to store an estimate is through this controller, through this form request. And so I would probably just have it ensure that the data is defaulted here. Or again, if that was too fancy, default it here on save. You could just merge, merge in pets false, if it didn't exist or whatever, right? That would kind of unstreamline this code, but the point is there's other places you could do this, but it was a learning opportunity. I kind of forgot about, I knew this existed, I just kind of forgot its syntax. So let's prove that it works, shall we? Let's go back, refresh, let's make another one. Oh, let's finish up with another one here. Composer, run, dev. We don't need to migrate fresh. We know it was storing in the database correctly. It just wasn't passing along to the calculator correctly. So let's do a residential one. We'll do that. We'll do a 2 and 2. Nice little place. No kids. And then yes on, well, no, wait. We need to say no on pets to make sure that the false still works. So we'll hit save, and there we go. That's where we wanted to be at the end of the stream. And that's where we are. Commercials false, 1000, 2, false on pets, 0 on children, and then there is our generated range being saved with our little fake formula that we built last time. So, whoo, long way around, but we got everything. There we are. Okay, so I don't think form building is very fun, and I don't think it makes for very good stream content. So I appreciate those that have droned on with me here, but I will probably, for the first time, do a little bit of work off stream to get this show form showing up and get the form building of that done. But I think we've proven out, some of the stuff. So let me go back. Let's tweak. I'm going to tweak the wording here. I'm going to tighten up the design just a little bit, not a whole lot, but I'm at least going to fill in the proper wording for these fields and just tighten up the design a little bit so it's in more of that card format. So next week, what we'll do is we'll get back into ChatGPT or some other AI and see if we can get back to generating a little bit of a layout. It'll be a shorter stream, I think. So yeah, we'll do that, and then that way maybe the fifth stream we can maybe launch. Maybe we'll launch like a little small, version or something. I don't know. It won't have any copy or anything. So I think we'll just bring everything together and make sure it works in the final stream. So I think we're mostly done here. I think I'll do a little bit. I'll do like a half hour off stream, and then we'll do like two more streams to where the page is actually running locally. I think that's what we'll do. So again, thanks everybody. See y'all next Wednesday.